You're listening to The Build Up, presented by Brown Harris Stevens, where we break down the secrets to investing in real estate.
We're your hosts. I'm Candice Milano.
And I'm Malessa Rambarran. And today we're closing out an incredible season 3 that's been full of breakthroughs, bold moves, and a fresh perspective on real estate investing.
Whether you're a longtime listener or just tuning in, this season gave us some of our most powerful insights yet, and we're excited to reflect, recap, and even share a few behind-the-scenes moments you didn't hear on the air. All right, let's kick things off with innovation. So this season, we started really strong with our guest, Jerry Chu from Lofty AI. He walked us through how blockchain and fractional ownership are democratizing real estate.
Yes, I really enjoyed that conversation. I walked away with a lot of knowledge on, this breakthrough sort of new investing platform. And for as little as $50, you can start investing in tokenized real estate. It blew my mind how accessible investing has become with platforms like Lofty.
Right. I think that's one of the most common questions that we get is how to get started if you have limited capital. And so obviously it's not necessarily fit for everyone, but just the idea that a platform like this exists where you can begin your investing journey with relatively small amount of capital or very small capital, it's really exciting to have some options like this. But Jerry didn't just talk to us about tech. He also really shared how his model is, like I said, helping first-time investors break into markets that they once thought was out of reach through fractional ownership. And that accessibility is a game changer because, of course, property is very expensive. So if it's solely relied on you to make that full purchase, it can be very unattainable. But if you're able to partner with many other investors at relatively small amounts of investments per person, suddenly a lot of different opportunities are unlocked.
And then we had Bobby Fion, whose company uses data to optimize apartment layouts. Floor plan design as an ROI strategy. That was such a unique angle. I mean, we're in real estate. We talk about, new development quite a lot. So we know the importance of floor plans and layouts. And so it was really interesting to know that he has a full company that's dedicated to that. And I thought that was a really great conversation.
Yes. I think a lot of people don't realize how much money could be left on the table because of poor layouts. They maybe nail the location and get really, carried away with the design. And that's like the exciting part. But if you're not building the right layout, everything starts and stops with that. So I really, enjoyed that conversation as well. And it really helped to reinforce what we already know is how important the right layout can be for making or breaking an investment property.
For sure. Even with us here in New York City, it's often very small apartments, right? Compared to like the suburbs of Full House. But sometimes you can see a 1,500 square feet apartment, but it's not a really great layout. And 1,000 square feet apartment is a much better fit because it really maximizes the interior square footage. So it's really a perfect example of how marrying design and data can elevate your investing game.
Right. I think one of the other themes that came up a lot this season was reinvention. So take Rich Perello, for example. He was a former high school teacher, and now he's turned into a luxury spec developer in the very sought after market of the Hamptons out in Long Island, New York.
Yeah, Rich shared how his first multifamily was actually in New Jersey, Montclair, and that snowballed into building $15 million spec homes in the Hamptons market. That's not just about ambition. It's about strategy, timing, and partnership. And that conversation, he really went into depth about how that really helped him elevate his game and how that, aligning with the right people and also have timing on your side really made a big impact on his investing.
Yes. And as for partnerships, I think he said he's now on like the 8th project with the same architect and design team and even investors. So, we know from our partnership that if you do find the right team, partnership only can enhance, the abilities that you bring to the table and the investments that you are able to do. So I love that he made that point.
For sure.
But also we had Dr. Benjamin Aker. So he's another person who we saw, have a bit of reinvention because he's an ER physician, but he also scaled his own multifamily portfolio while working night shifts at the hospital. So that kind of dedication is so inspiring.
Right. And you were saying inspiring. And he talked a lot about mindset, which is so important in business. And it's not just waiting for the perfect time and instead just starting with what you have. And that message really resonated because you and I, Candice, we're perfectionists. And a lot of times we often find ourselves just really putting things off because it doesn't feel like the right time or everything is aligned. And so we've actually come to our own realization that you just have to jump right in. And so that's why that really resonated with me personally.
Definitely. And also what stood out to me was his focus on teaching and storytelling. It really shows how education can unlock opportunities for others, which, as you know, is also something we're very passionate about. So I think all around, Dr. Akers' approach to real estate investing is something that we really resonated with.
Exactly. And that's why that conversation was really great for us because we related to so many points. And again, I felt like it was parallel to our story as well.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
And another main theme from season 3 was about passive investing and syndications as a way of utilizing passive investing. And so Jim Pfeiffer, he kicked off a great conversation on syndications and how Left Field Investors, which is his company, grew from just a small mastermind into this full-on ecosystem.
Investing is a team sport. That's a concept we keep hearing, and it is so true, right? Like when you do have that community and everyone comes together, it just feels more aligned, and it's something that we have as well in this podcast. It's just really educating our community. So, we've really, I think throughout this whole season, we've really aligned with a lot of our guests, and we really resonated, like we said before. So that was also I enjoyed that conversation for sure.
Yes, and then we had Alexei Chernobylsky. He had a really powerful episode. He came from a $10 billion institutional portfolio to now shifting into something very different, where he's helping everyday investors connect with vetted sponsors of syndication. So that was a massive shift.
Oftentimes we always hear, a lot of people, they talk just about the success, right? And kind of like be aspirational, but he was really transparent, and he talked about vetting sponsor, understanding the deal structure for anyone, new to syndication. I think it was really a powerful conversation, and the way that he went into all of the details, I think it was very educational for our listeners, and it's a must listen.
Yes. So with someone like that, he's done these deal reps so many times. So you can really learn a lot from his insights and what to look for. And obviously nothing replaces your own experience in doing something, but it can definitely shorten your learning curve. And I think that's what I took away from that conversation. But we also spoke with Whitney Elkins Hutton, and she is really the ultimate blend of an educator and an operator. She manages an $800 million fund while she's also empowering others through passiveinvesting.com.
And just her ambition to really educate and empower others similarly to us, right, in terms of passive investing, that was really good. And then she also did a great job in breaking down the risk mitigation, especially in today's economy. It's so valuable to have that insight.
Yes. I think the fourth main theme from season 4 was around intentional wealth building. So obviously our whole show is about building wealth through real estate. And so everyone who's listening has that underlying goal in mind. But of course, it can be approached from so many ways. And I think the intentionality with our guest, Antoinette Monroe, really reminded us that the financial freedom we all are seeking doesn't require 100 doors. It can really start with 4. She achieved financial freedom with 4 very strategic properties. And so we really loved highlighting that story because often we feel, especially listening to so many of these very successful investors, that you're going to need massive portfolios to really start to see, your lifestyle being enhanced by these investments. But it wasn't the case with Antoinette. And I'm really glad that we could hear that, how she was able to do that.
Right. And, with her story, it's really great because, like you said, she only has 4, right, buildings, and she was able to achieve her financial freedom. And again, it's all relative to who you are. And her conversation was great because she really went into depth about her planning and just really having goals and going back to those goals. I think that's important because oftentimes you may have goals and then you lose sight of it, and then you just really move away from your strategy of why you started and your intention of why you started. And I also was really excited that she was able to share all of her different strategies that she's used. For example, she used house hacking and assisted living as part of her strategies. It was very intentional and everything was just aligned with her values. And I really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah. Her story showed that, we're not just here because we all want to necessarily be rich. Wealth isn't just a number. It's really about freedom and the impact you can make on, she talked about how she's able to now, her lifestyle has enhanced. She's able to enhance the lives of her family and her close friends and give them jobs at some of her properties and, really treat her family to amazing vacations and just the peace of mind of knowing that she's not forced to do anything that, she doesn't necessarily want to do. She was very unhappy in her corporate job. So again, we're here to build wealth for those reasons, to find that those same benefits from these investments. And her story really helped to highlight that.
Yeah, her story and her kind of outlook with the delayed gratification, it sort of reminded me of that conversation we had with Nellie Galan, right? It just talks about, sometimes you kind of put off the trip today, but you know that you're saving and you're investing and you can have a better trip in the future. So that really reminded me of that. And one thing that I think that struck me this season was how many of our guests are teachers at heart, even if that's not their true title, right? Education has been super prominent throughout the season. And I was really happy to hear that because at least some part of it is just like that giving back, right? Because I feel a lot of our guests, they went through it, sort of how we went through 10 years of being in real estate. We're educating our listeners through these guests, and that's what they're passionate about. And these conversations really resonated because you can feel their excitement to really give back in terms of education.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of our guests was a teacher, Rich Perella, like we said, but the others have now gone on to do TED Talks, to write books, to create coaching platforms and programs. So it was really clear, like you said, that there's definitely a spirit of sharing. And that's really what makes the podcast community so strong, is really sharing what's working, what's not working, and empowering everyone around us from those, lessons.
Yeah, and I also noticed the idea of balance came up a lot, whether it's family, career, or purpose. These investors are designing lives that work for them. And I think like how Antoinette touched on freedom, I think that's really what everyone's looking for. Money is money, but I think money represents freedom for a lot of people. And I think that was prominent throughout the season as well.
Yes. As we said, real estate is just the vehicle here. The destination is always going to be lifestyle, the legacy that you're leaving through educating and helping people and the difference you can make. And then, of course, time freedom. Can't really put a price on that.
For sure.
Looking back, I think this was the season of intentionality. So whether it was about design, like we heard about from Rich Perello, that was like a really key part of his success, or lifestyle, like Antoinette really used real estate as a way to create her ideal life, or just investing in general, like again, only having a limited amount of properties, but really maximizing each and every one. Every guest that we interviewed, I feel, was extremely intentional, about their moves, right? They weren't just, coming in with no strategy, no process. Like everyone had a really smart approach to investing.
Hey, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. As an official moving partner of Brown Harris Stevens, we know that your clients deserve more than just a move. At Roadway Moving and Storage, we turn moving into an experience they will love. From specialized services to a white glove treatment, we've got it all covered. When you choose Roadway, you're choosing a peace of mind for your clients. Plus, our referral program is the most rewarding in the industry. Want to learn more? Shoot me an email at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Do you have a big move coming up? I'm Scott Nadler with Cross Country Mortgage, and I've got the loan to match your dream home. Whether it's your first or your fifth, I'll make the process quick and easy. Call me today. Let's make it happen.
So looking back, I think this was the season of the theme of intentionality. So whether it was about the design of the properties, like Rich Porello, that was a big part of his success, or similarly with Bobby Fion, with the design of the layouts, or the lifestyle, again, Antoinette was really motivated by creating the life that she wanted for herself, or just the investing itself. Like we had so many investors like Dr. Benjamin Aker or Alexi or Whitney who really had a strong process and way of vetting the deals that they're doing. So again, every guest came in very intentional with their moves. No one was just, randomly buying and, selling properties. There was definitely a process behind each and every one of these guests.
I totally agree. And there was also, like I mentioned before, a huge push towards education and empowerment. Almost every guest teaches in some form, like we talked about, books, courses, platform, and community.
Yes. And then again, let's not forget the growing appeal of passive investing. More and more people are realizing that you don't need to manage properties yourself to build wealth. Because again, that is a big blocker for getting into real estate investing, is maybe not having the time to dedicate, because it can be quite demanding. But again, that's why I think it was great that so many of the guests this season really opened up about what passive investing can look like and how it can lead to your own financial freedom.
For sure. And also, too, what I think was important in the conversation is that passive investing, it also does take time, right? It takes a lot of time. It's kind of deceiving when you talk about passive investing. You just think you put your money in there and you don't look back at it. But I think it's very important that you also have to go in knowing that there are risks, and you have to do your research and due diligence. So that was also important to hear. And also, just knowing you don't need 50 units to make a meaningful impact on your finances, right? You can start with 4, like Antoinette. You can have 4 actually, and be, fine with if that's your goal. So I think overall, all of these guests definitely made an impact on just our listeners in general.
And us too, if we're honest. But so speaking of us and what we took away, what was your biggest takeaway this season or lesson learned?
Honestly, I was inspired by the diversity of paths into real estate. It was really nice to hear different strategies. I mean, we've had from tech, medicine to teaching and public health. There's really no one way to do this.
Absolutely. And I think that's, again, one of our goals is not just highlighting the different types of real estate investing that is available, but how diverse it can be, how diverse the paths are of all of these successful investors. They're not just coming from real estate or straight out of some, master's program, where they learn how to model and Excel. These are everyday people who, just choose to prioritize their wealth and their future and their legacy. And they've chosen real estate as the path to do that. So it really reinforced for me that real estate can fit your life, not the other way around. And you just need the right tools, the right team and mindset. And you can very well be on your way and on your path to becoming like one of our guests.
And I also walked away with a renewed appreciation for community. I mean, community is very big for us, as you know, with Tower and even here with the build up. But every investor we spoke with really emphasized the importance of finding and really building with your tribe, right? It's just really having this sense of belonging, but also trusting the people that's in your community. And it really empowers you to want to do more.
Absolutely. And like you said, real estate investing is a long-term play and process. So you want to enjoy the people that you're surrounding yourself with and your team. Like, with you and I, we've been at this for a decade. I couldn't imagine, number one, doing it by myself, or number two, doing it with people that I didn't enjoy, working with on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's the same thing with investing. You have to really set yourself up to enjoy the process, and by way of that, the people that you're surrounding yourself with. So, people definitely go at it alone, but if you can surround yourself with people that you can learn from, that you can enjoy sharing ideas with, I think it's, definitely a more supportive way to approach this.
For sure. And, with the type of work we do, we work with a lot of developers, like we've mentioned. And with that whole, process, it takes years. It's sort of a marriage. And, for us, we've really refined what's really important to us. And we want to align ourselves with not just, colleagues, but also our clients. We want to make sure that that marriage is going to be successful, because it does take a lot and everybody has to collaborate. And, that's just really the importance of community for me, particularly.
Yes. So I think that really wraps up kind of a lot of the takeaways, lessons learned, reoccurring themes of season 3. And we're very excited. You and I know we already have many guests on the roster for season 4. So we're going to take a quick break, but we're really dedicated and devoted and excited to bring back the build up with more guests, more insights, and more ways to really stay on top of this ever evolving industry of real estate investing.
Definitely. Season 3 has been so quick. I feel like it flew by. And the fact that we have guests lined up for season 4 just really makes me feel inspired to want to keep doing this. I do feel like I have this purpose to really give back. And just like our guests, we talked about educating, and that's been really our mission for Tower and the build up. And that just makes me feel really good and inspired and excited for season 4.
Thanks for being with us this season. Whether you're taking notes while you're on your commute or you're planning your next investment move, we're so honored to be a part of your journey.
If season 3 sparked an idea or a new direction for you, share it with a friend and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
As we mentioned, we're already gearing up for season 4 with even more powerful stories, tactical advice, and fresh faces. So we might also have a few surprises for you along the way.
Until next time, keep investing with intention, trust your vision, and we'll catch you next season on The Build Up.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice.
For specific recommendations, please consult with your financial, legal, or tax professional.
Always leaves your text on red. Leaves your text on red.
Built the corporate group with $1,000 loan.
Tell us a little bit about how you actually came from.
Welcome to The Build Up, John Roa.
Thanks for having me.
We're coming to you here from Studio 1873.
It's not 57% over $2.7 million.
So then, cheers.